Hello, welcome. It is me, Danyell Carmelita, your favorite tarot reader and astrologer. Welcome to this monthly transits of June 2025, a month brimming with emotional revelations. We have bold mindset shifts that's going to occur this month. We got dramatic clarity. We're dealing with Leo energy and karmic realignments. Gemini season is going to give way for Cancer season, and we enter a highly charged period with thoughts, feelings, and actions, and all that begins to emerge and also collide. We have a lot of squares this month and interactions with Jupiter. And Jupiter, if you don't know anything about it, it expands. So this month is not soft. If you ask to get real about your emotions, take accountability about your fears, and commit to your next season of growth, then the path will be unclear. But we are going to make it clear with this transit. So if you want to know about June 2025, get ready because we're about to get it started.
3, 2, 1.
I love you.
So just to briefly tell you a summary here, starting with Venus, it grounds us, and then we'll be shaking some stuff up because Venus will enter Taurus, and then that's around June 5th and June 8th. We have the mind meets the heart because we have the Cancer being involved, and we have tensions and change because we got some squares with Venus and Pluto and Mars and Uranus. And we have a full moon in Sagittarius. We have a new moon in Cancer. And Mercury at the end, we actually don't have any retrogrades this month, which is really great because Mercury at the end starts to pre-shadow retrograde. And let me pull up I forgot to add my dates here, but Mercury will pre-shadow retrograde at the end of the month, actually June 29th. So no retrogrades other than a current retrograde, which we have with Pluto in the nodes. But I am excited that it's nothing major. Let's see what we have here. Why is it not allowing me to add the dates? Here, hold up, wait a minute, one more second. Okay, here we go. Here are the dates for June. And what we have here is that June 8th, we have Mercury is going to conjunct Jupiter. June 9th, we have Mercury is going to square Saturn. Mercury is going to square Neptune. And on the 9th, Venus is going to square Pluto. Get ready for that challenging day. And on the 13th, the Sun is going to square the North Node. This is why I say we have a lot of squares this month. Mars is going to square Uranus on the 15th, and then Jupiter will be squaring Saturn. And on the 18th, Jupiter is going to square Neptune. Neptune and Aries are sitting, Neptune and Saturn are sitting close to each other. So anything that's dealing with those two, or anything dealing with a planet dealing with one of the planets will be affecting the other. And on the 21st, Mercury is going to trine the North Node in the North Node in Pisces and sextile the South Node. And then the 22nd, the Sun is going to square Saturn. On the 23rd, we have the Sun squaring Neptune because what happens to Saturn then happens to Neptune, as I said earlier. And on the 24th, we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter. Get ready for this conjunction with Jupiter. And also, too, on the 27th, we have Mercury that's going to trine Saturn. We have Mercury in Leo is going to trine Neptune because, again, and then we have, lastly, Mercury is going to oppose Pluto. Now, as far as the other things like the luminations and the ingresses and the retrogrades, which I talked about earlier. June 5th, we have Venus that's going to enter Taurus. And then on the 8th, Venus is going to enter Cancer. Our full moon is in June 11th, we have the Sagittarius full moon. On the 17th, back up to the ingresses, we have Mars entering Virgo. On the 20th, the Sun will enter Cancer. Happy solar to return to all my Cancers. And then on the 25th, we have the Cancer new moon. On the 26th, Mercury will enter Leo. And then on the 29th, lastly, Mercury is going to pre-shadow phase. Retrograde starts to happen in the sign Leo. Okay, so that is what we have for our dates, and we're going to get started on each day. Now on January 5th, actually, let me pull up my chart here. And let's see what we have. Now let me change the day. On January 5th, And how is everyone doing? Once we start this month, I do want you to understand we do have this conjunction with Saturn and Neptune. And I talked about this, but this is being restrictions to the spiritual leaders here. The government has some type of involvement or limitation to anyone who is like I said, the Malcolm X of things. So we'll see, or even more limitations when it comes to that photo ID or traveling with anything dealing with the face and ID kind of situation. So that's just some of the stuff, but it gets deeper. We'll talk about that as we it will be direct. I talked about this actually several times, so just something to add to it. But that is what I see when we first immediately enter June, and then after when we go to June 5th, Venus will be at 29 degrees, and then it will enter Taurus. That's about sensuality, stability, pleasure, self-worth, beauty, and finances. And Venus entering Taurus is going to start to slow things down. We're going to be into the taste of things and indulging and feeling good. And it's all about natural, grounded, and real things. A lot of parties outside, a lot of parties that's dealing with natural elements. Expect themes of beauty, money, and love, and it will take center stage. Taurus wants substance. It doesn't want speed. It wants deeper trust, building something meaningful. It's all about investing in energy, and only in things that nourish you. Now, whenever I think of Venus in a sign Taurus, it's like a lot of energy of knowing your self-worth and really celebrating that. So when it comes to love, because Venus is about love, it's about craving your physical affection with consistency, and loyalty is increasing. There's a lot of quality time, comfort. Romance is more on the simple side, but there's quality to it. Relationships that bring peace and security. Far as finances, because Venus represents finances, especially in Taurus, a lot of focus on finances and stocks and the banks. But it's all about stabilizing your finances, reviewing your spending habits, and investing in long-term values. But there is luxury when it comes to skincare and food and perfume and home decor, anything that's kind of artsy and beautiful and dealing with aesthetics and senses. Now, Venus is also about our self-worth. And now it's in the home of self-worth. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, so it's really strong. You're talking about eating your bread, eating good food, listening to good music. All that is involved. But as far as your self-worth, you're going to know your value. You're not going to settle. On a social side, because Venus represents the parties, and it's going to be very slow, sweet, and more luxurious. You're talking about like backyard garden parties. You're talking about picnics or charcuterie boards or rosé under the sun kind of energy, spa nights or self-care parties. Even potlucks with the home cooked meals or comfort food. Great time for a paint and sip kind of energy. Venus and Taurus, it doesn't like to feel. If it doesn't feel like peace, beauty, or real love, it's not Venus and Taurus kind of energy. And that's what you have at the beginning of June. On June 8th, and I'll talk about the transits of Venus as we get into it. But June 8th, we have Mercury in Gemini, and you see it conjuncts Jupiter. To me, this is one of the biggest. It's going to conjunct in Cancer, but right now it's conjuncting. It's conjunct in Gemini. I've talked about this before, but I'm letting you know now in June, this is really big, right? So you're talking about big ideas, bold messages, final decisions, mental expansion, last chance of insight, major moment of mental clarity, communication breakthroughs, amplifying of ideas. Mercury is the planet of thinking, speaking, and perception, and it's in the sign Gemini, so it's moving fast, it's really communicating. It's in its home sign, so it's double the energy. And it's not only just double the energy, it's sitting next to Jupiter, which expands that. Jupiter is the opposite of Mercury. It is about sharing ideas. However, Jupiter wants to share it on a global scale. Mercury wants to do it in a more detailed. So you have this dynamic here, this big and small, detail versus the world, the community versus the world kind of energy. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, wisdom, and higher wisdom. And Mercury is like home, not home, early education. But also your belief is Jupiter too. Now, is that 29 degrees? So this is why I think this is going to be really important. Mercury moves fast, so this will be something that we'll be feeling very soon, at the beginning of June. And yeah, but it's at 29 degrees. That's a very critical degree. There's an urgency, a closing. Yeah, it carries some weight. It's big on ideas, like maybe this is going to be a pitch, a launch of some sort, boldly sharing your truth. There's mental stimulation that could be happening. The message is going to be loud. So if there's something that's going to be an announcement in the media, it's going to be really loud. It's going to be powerful, and it's going to be dealing something with closure, urgency, or maybe it's going to feel like it has to hurry up. There's going to be a pressure to act. Or maybe a verbal climax of some sort. In the headlines, collective predictions, I see that there's like either a final word before we have a shift because we're moving into Cancer. It's a massive information moment, and you're talking about communication, facts, what was said, the truth, the justice, broadcasting. You also have important messages, and it's about being shared. So I'll talk about how this Mercury and Jupiter touching each other before and how it looked in the past. But with the 29 degrees, there is this urgency and is boiled over. So this could be the energy, and Jupiter, it's a magnifying glass. It makes everything bigger. And Gemini is very curious. So there could be some like releasing of classified information, or maybe there's a recorded conversation coming out, or there's something with documentation. It could be dealing with justice, truth, or public interest. Now, remember, in the backdrop, we do have Pluto retrograding in Aquarius. So Aquarius is all about the people, technology, freedom of speech, and rebellion. And Pluto is going to reveal whatever is hidden. And you have this relationship here still happening in another air sign, and it's just at this 29 degrees. So something could be bigger and making this a trigger point. It's like, I can't stay silent. The world deserves to know. So major leaks could be happening, maybe a shocking revelation. What else? Oh, I had some in the past. In 2013, we had a Mercury Jupiter conjunction, and that's when NASA documents, Edward Snowden released classified NSA, not NASA, NSA documents in 2013. And it started at May 20th is when the conjunction started to happen. And then you see that release happened. It actually released on the 5th. But it started to come close on the 20th. So that was very interesting to see. And then also too, in 1988, Mercury in Gemini and Jupiter in Gemini. And this is when Tim Berners-Lee, a British scientist, invented the World Wide Web. Okay. Now, at the time, we probably didn't know how big that was, but you understand how big the internet is now. And basically, that happened with this energy here. So I'm just trying to give you a perspective of what this could look like. Also, too, in 2001, we had Jupiter in Gemini, and then when Mercury hit that, we had this mainstream rise of text messaging, mobile phones, digital media, and that's changing a major shift in how we access information and how we share and speak and conversate. So explosive media moment, last minute deals, mergers, announcements, truth, it's been media also, but it also could be mental overload, decision time, also could represent transportation, anything dealing with technology, also freedom of speech, or debates, a lot of debates, and public education too. And I think this is going to be really big for our podcasters, digital communicators, anyone involved with education. There could be something done with that, or anyone writing, publishing, and journalists also. Okay, so that is what we have happening there. Also, too, Mercury then that same day will be entering Cancer. And when Mercury enters Cancer, you're talking about emotional communication, intuition is involved here, memory, the past, family conversations, protective thinking. Mercury enters Cancer, and then you're dealing with the mental energy shifts from fast, because it went from Gemini to fact-based Gemini energy into more intuitive, emotional waters of Cancer. So you're this is a moment when you stop talking and just start speaking from the heart. Okay. It's really sensitive. Cancer energy is very nostalgic, it's very protective, it's all about the feelings, it's very personal, and it's very emotionally charged. So that is what is going to happen when it comes to us signing contracts, when it comes to us communicating, sharing ideas, when it comes to commerce. It's all about the emotions and intuition. Very heartfelt conversations are going to be happening when Mercury enters Cancer. Increased intuition, protective thinking, a lot of nostalgic and memory and storytelling and revisiting the past could be happening. So you could just see like social media reflecting a lot or people talking about their childhood wounds or family patterns or their ancestry. Discussions even of therapy, even though that's more Scorpio energy, but people need healing. So a surge in family and childhood focused topics. You know, you could even have debates about parenting and education and the home and ancestry, DNA and family history and gender roles and motherhood and caregiving. Watch out for taking things too personal, because Cancer gets a little overreactive when it comes to emotions. So also could be a little passive aggressive. The Cancer likes to walk sideways, so it doesn't like to deal things head on, so it comes from the back. Okay, so use this transit to check in with loved ones, write a heartfelt message, or reflect. Get some inner child work done and some ancestral healing and rewriting family narratives. Now on the 9th of June, also too, we have Mercury. When it enters Cancer, it immediately squares Saturn. So not only are you emotional, but now something new is starting, because this is a cardinal square, and it's a challenge because there is something new, and it could be challenging, maybe your family versus yourself, or something new versus your family or your past. Something new from your past could be happening, or government in the past, because Saturn does represent the government and limitations, and the government is in the fog and it's deceptive. So there is that energy, but also could be limiting something with homes, because whenever you're dealing with Cancer, you are talking about your physical home. That could be concern, and government or maybe a corporation is creating some policies within that. But some keywords with this transit is that mental blocks, emotional walls, tough conversations. There are going to be some delays, some inner critics. Communications could be feeling really heavy. Saying less kind of energy. You're very quiet. You're very withdrawn. You're very defensive, because this one likes to bring the negativity. There's authority versus emotions. Again, the government versus parents, or leadership or mentors versus a traditional system. So control and censorship for sure. Higher potential of this transit is that you could have some emotional maturity. So whatever you learn from this, there is going to be learning about clear boundaries, or maybe being more mature when it comes to your emotions. Okay. Now, then Mercury will start to not retrograde, square with Neptune. Because remember, whatever happens to Saturn, then slowly it happens to Neptune. And that's where we get the common theme of this month. If you didn't know, a lot of dealings of Saturn, and then later dealing with it with Neptune, or actually, it's not just later, but you kind of deal with it the same. But, I'm going to talk about it one on one, but know that it's a group effort, because they're sitting so close to each other. Okay. Now, with this square, now that this Mercury is squaring Saturn, is also squaring Neptune, and you're talking about deceptions or secrets or fogginess, or a releasing of the home and the family and your emotions or the past. So a lot of confusion, a lot of miscommunication, emotional fog, intuition versus impulsivity, and idealism. Okay, so really your reality could be distorted with this energy. Mercury is very sensitive, is very intuitive with Cancer, and one speaks from the heart. And Neptune is emotional. So you could be overly emotional, so emotional that you're not really seeing clearly, and you're assuming what could be true. And decisions are driven more by feelings, and you could be missing a mark. So emotional miscommunication, mental overwhelm, or escapism. A lot of escapism, and it's coming from your past. So like drugs or things that you used to do from your past, kind of energy. And Aries also, it's in the sign Aries. So it's very quick action. So it's like your intuition or your emotions, and it's being very impulsive or overly impulsive. But what you need to watch out is for media, misinformation with media, or social media as well, or manipulating a language of some sort, or saying one thing and not really meaning it, because it was saying it so fast. Or so be aware of that. Okay. Now, also too, Venus in Taurus is going to square Pluto the same day, and Pluto is the planet of getting things from the darkness or the taboo and mystery. It's very intense as well. So Venus is, again, I think Venus as the party. So it's like you're at a party and things get too deep and too intense, and you're like, whoa, are there some taboo situations happening? That P Diddy kind of energy. Maybe you have a loved one, and now there's some secrets being revealed. But overall, the main themes of this is power struggles in love, financial tensions, because Venus does represent the money. Pluto could represent that too, but you have desire versus control, obsession, and transformation. A clash between love, power, comfort, and change, pleasure and disruption, security, and peace is going to be disrupted with this. Relationship power dynamics can get exposed. Money and power colliding. You're talking about manipulations. You're talking about cryptocurrency, wealth inequality. AI can take over some type of market of some sort. Also, to you, I'm talking about aesthetics, and aesthetics is not really getting well with the future or the people or on a collective level. So yeah, on a personal level, you could be feeling torn between comfort and the necessity to grow. You could be drawn to someone or something who has a very intense magnetic or very transformative energy, but it's destructive, or you could be manipulated somehow. So, and it could be very possessive. So that is what we have on the 9th, and also on the 9th, because on the 9th we had a lot of things. Jupiter also, you see it's at 29 degrees, and then I talked about that earlier, but on the 9th, and I'm just skipping because I'm not doing it per hour, but on the 9th, it also goes into Cancer. So a lot is here. It's huge energy with things from the past, a huge energy with moms and the homes, emotional expansion, protection, nourishment, ancestral wisdom, home and family growth. A lot of abundance and higher truth when it comes into anything dealing with emotions or your home or your roots or your protection. This is a planet that's very benefic. Benefic means that it's very positive, and it really likes to be in a sign Cancer. Cancer is like, oh my gosh, I love coming to Cancer's home. Jupiter is like, I feel so great here. I can sleep in your bed. You have the best food. Yeah, it just really loves it in the sign Cancer. So it's not just about love, but there is generosity. There's debt here. Yeah, so it just left the scattered energy of Gemini, and it's all over the place. It's multitasking. It's talking way too much, a lot of information, to now you're in comfort. Okay, so you can have some emotional intelligence and it becomes a superpower. A lot of discussions of homes, housing, land, and it takes center stage. Now I did do a very a very detailed video on Jupiter entering Cancer in my 2025 playlist that is still currently being effective and really accurate. So check that out, especially if you want your horoscopes when it comes to Jupiter entering Cancer. But there is going to be a big theme of this year about homes, and not just like even our homeland. If you live in America or if you live in any country, your homeland or your physical home or what you deem safe. Okay. Migration is going to be a big one. National identity is going to be a big one. Policy changes when it comes to housing and affordable housing, property rights, home security, land ownership. Get ready for that. Okay. Family systems, motherhood and legacy. That's going to be huge. Parenting styles, women's rights, childcare, reproductive, because Cancer represents the womb. Anything dealing with ancestry, roots, and heritage, so like DNA, anything dealing with that. Also, to documentations or it makes me think of thrift stores, because Cancer also represents anything vintage and old. Yeah, sacred space of divine feminine energy. Also, to just be ready for emotional overprotective energy. A lot of people being super sensitive. So a lot of cancel culture over, you can't say that, nationalism, cultural gatekeeping, avoiding change. Cancer loves the past, likes to stay in the past. So there is that energy too. Yeah. Oh, also too, remember it's going to conjunct Mercury once it hits Cancer. So this conjunction is really expanding, again, learning and information, messages from the soul. Your intuition becomes louder than the actual voice. Maybe you are giving a public speech and it takes a turn for something that's more personal and private, or something that's dealing with mental health or family centered issues. You can have that. Just big announcements on homes and everything that I mentioned about home policy or ancestry and DNAs or family reunions too, kind of energy. Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah. So on the 11th of June, we have the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, also too, this full moon is going to be really big because we have two planets that are in Cancer. Jupiter is in Cancer. Jupiter is the ruler of Cancer is the ruler. Okay, I'm saying everything what I need to say. The moon is the ruler of Cancer. So the moon being the ruler of Cancer, then Jupiter is affected, Mercury is affected. So get ready for that. So a lot of emotions and sensitivity. You're talking about truth, You're talking about expansion, belief shifts that could be happening, freedom, adventure, perspective, release through wisdom. That is what you have with this full moon in Sagittarius. A lot of truth speaking and seeking and breaking free from limits. Sagittarius wants to zoom out. It wants to see this bigger picture. It's very expansive. It's looking for the greater truth. It wants big revelations, spiritual insight. So it's a turning point. Okay. So during this full moon in in Sagittarius, you have a truth being revealed, is reshaping. There could be issues with traveling or global awareness. Get ready for that. The wisdom of letting go, because it wants to release outdated worldviews and narrow minded thinking, or limiting spiritual beliefs. It wants to be open minded. So get ready for those things. It's going to be at 20 degrees when it's at the full moon exactly. And that means raw truth, freedom through knowledge, unapologetic optimism, team doing too much. Okay. A hunger for something bigger, deeper, and more meaningful. It's also, this full moon is also going to trine Mars and Leo. This is great because it's going to give you confidence. It's going to give you the ability to act on what you believe. There will be a stage for you to show out and go big. If there is a conflict, it's actually working in your on your behalf. And then it's going to trine Chiron. Chiron is the healer. So you're getting healing from all these emotions of being bigger and better, and for the truth being revealed as well. It's going to square the North Node. And when it squares the North Node, that's the South Node. Why? When it squares the North Node, this is going to have some issues with illusions and escapism and being avoidant of things, or not forgiving, or playing the victim. And that's going to be involving with your the truth bomb energy, or you being bold. There's some emotions there involving with this. Were you trying to achieve something, your purpose? Okay. I'll go over all that and more as we get closer to it, but that's what we have, because this is just a recap of what to look for in the month of June. Now, on the 13th of June, we have the sun that is going to square the North Node. So not only do we have the full moon involved, why can't I ever find my North Node? Not only do we have the full moon involved the day before, but now the sun's involved. And it's like the ego is trying to, like, your purpose and your words and communication is challenging with some confusion and some secrets for you trying to achieve your life's dream, okay? Your soul purpose. There's some soul level confusion. Your intuition and your mind is not on the same path. There's distracted energy for your path, and you're questioning your purpose. Okay. So you have that. And then later in June, in the mid of June, June 15th, we have Mars and Leo's at 29 degrees. Okay. But when it really happens, it's going to be at 28 degrees, and it's going to square Uranus and Taurus. And when this happens, things are moving too fast. It's really going to have a sense of urgency, really. And it's going to be really bold. It's a surprises with the ego and stability. There's rebellion, sudden disruptions. Your ego has a shock. There's risk taking, and it's not working for the best. You could have a breakthrough and a breakdown. Okay. It's like a lightning bolt hitting the stage. It wants to be seen and take the lead and go big. And Uranus and Taurus disrupts your security, what's familiar. It's a resistance to change, to areas of your finances, your money, the bank, our stocks, what we value, our comfort and our control. So there's some ego involved with this, because you are dealing with the sun, or something's going to be really highlighted with this dynamic. So there could be an explosive event that could be happening, like maybe a protest, or maybe like a celebrity scandal. Ooh, our leadership, because the Leo energy does represent king and leaders and presidents. There could be some financial instability happening, or some tech disruptions, and it could be affecting the stocks or the market. Ego meets the unexpected breakdowns in confidence or self-expression, playing it safe and making a bold leap, and you feel torn between doing that. Okay. Now, also too, Jupiter in Cancer is going to square that Saturn in Aries, and something new comes up, and it's a struggle, because this is a cardinal square. It doesn't like something new. Okay, it doesn't like change. There's limitations in your home and safety. This is expansion. There's something that wants to grow, but then there's a restriction on the growth. This is hope and you have the hope, but then the discipline has to be involved with the hope, and there's no discipline. It's emotional security, and it wants its independence at the same time. So this is a classic growth test transit. Jupiter is the planet of beliefs. It's the planet of abundance and opportunities, and it's happy in Cancer. And it wants to nurture and protect and expand emotionally, the family, and inner life matters. And Saturn in Aries is like, no, we need to limit. We need to limit the home. We need to limit what you feel safe, and it even wants to slow it down, even though it's in Aries. So let's see how that dynamic is. But there's some structure and some bold independence, and they don't see eye to eye. There's friction for the desire to grow, and it could be something clashing with the homes. Again, the government is involved with the homes and housing policies. This is big with this energy here, but clash between compassion and control, economic tug of war, and you're talking about public resistance to maybe debates over government aid. I feel like it's something dealing with the home. I can't say this. This is what I think. Identity versus belonging. You have the challenges around masculine and feminine energy, and it's integrated. It could be dealing with leadership and family roles again. Parenting. Also, it could be big with this, a mom and a dad, and there's conflict. Okay, so June 17th, then we have Mars entering Virgo. So after all that drama of being on stage, darling, okay, and everyone look at me, now it's in Virgo. It wants to focus on hard work. It wants to focus on the details. It actually wants to move really slow. Okay, so this is a time of productivity, work, okay, problem solving, improvement, humble hustle, precision. Mars is the planet of action. It's our drive. It's our motivation. And Virgo is really very detailed, and it's very focused. It's very refined. It wants to improve and make things perfect. It wants to clean up and organize. Okay, so there's action with purpose. There's the fix it energy. This is the phase where it starts to fix everything. So like the workplace, your health, service to others, anything, even dealing with charity, clean up, any type of clean type of thing, to like what they call clean energy or going green kind of energy. Public demands of competence over charisma, logic, precision, and results. Surge in practical innovation. It's very practical energy. Okay. Overthinking though could be happening, going over the details too much, and it doesn't run a release because it wants everything to be perfect. It's very a lot of self-criticism or criticism of others too. Now June 18th, we have Jupiter in Cancer. Now it's squaring Neptune, of course, because it's got to be follow the leader, same kind of energy. And when it squares Neptune, we have disillusionment, we have compassion fatigue. They are tired now, darling. Okay. Spiritual inflation, emotional fog. Again, this is also involving our spiritual leaders, our Malcolm X leaders, our Ibrahims of the current time. Major foggy transit. Okay. This is a cardinal sign, so it's something that's starting first. Again, it doesn't want it's something new is starting, and we don't want it. Okay. Spiritual confusion or false promises, financial or philanthropic scandals, emotional exhaustion, being exhausted emotionally over compassion, and you're tired of like, oh, why do we have to save the world? Okay, that kind of energy. We'll get into more details of that later. Now then, we have happy solar return to all my Cancers. I am a Cancer sun, so we having our birthday. Okay, so this is a time for emotional awareness. This is a time for homecoming, inner security, nurturing environments, all the moms, all the safety, all the homebodies, all the not letting it go. Because the Cancer is like, what's going on? I remember what you did in the past kind of energy, but a lot of intuition involved, emotional depth, ancestral wisdom, sacred softness. Cancer is ruled by the moon, so whatever the moon is doing during Cancer season is going to affect the sun, it's going to affect Jupiter, it's going to affect Mercury. So also too, this is marks the summer solstice. So it is the longest day of the year, and that is exciting. I love summer solstice. It makes me so happy. It also is around Juneteenth, And Juneteenth is a very fun holiday for me. I hope you guys celebrate it, but you are talking about a past and ancestry too there. But you're talking about home and family and emotional foundations. It takes priority, emotional intelligence, become a superpower, return to the past and heal your future. But a lot of reacting emotionally and over nurturing, being a codependent, okay? Avoiding change in the name of safety, looking into the past and not the present or the future is also the problem, okay? Now, June 21st, Mercury is going to enter Cancer. Mercury is in Cancer, and we have finally some positivity, right? We have a trine with our future and our destiny here with the North Node. So emotional themes are working for our destiny. Our soul aligned messages are coming through. We're hearing them, we're listening to them, we're processing it. There's intuitive guidance, there's emotional wisdom, there's healing conversations and divine timing. This is a great time to get a tarot reading. But the water energy is having your back here, okay? It's working for you. You got Neptune sitting there too. And I find that this is very positive with our destiny and our future when you have all this. I'm saying Neptune sitting next to Saturn because that Neptune still wants to be like, come on, Saturn, be a little nice. You have that energy, but this is healing conversations and soul directed words, clarity through intuition, emotional realignment with your destiny. And this is going to show up in conversations or maybe a dream or something in your memory or realizing a past decision that was a mistake or something you're speaking from the heart and really works. Okay. On the 22nd of June, that Sun in Cancer starts to do what everyone else is doing, right? So Sun in Cancer is square. It's actually his 1 degree. It's square Saturn first, and then it'll square Neptune. But we'll talk about both. So then this is when the ego gets checked, okay? The Sun represents your ego. There's emotional pressure. There's identity tests, the family versus the independence. You have boundaries. You have inner authority, all clashing with you trying to pursue something or your vitality. So emotional needs and personal responsibility. The Sun in Cancer, it wants nurturing energy, connection, safety. Saturn in Aries, it's like I demand some self-discipline, some courage, and some action. And it's like you trying to be soft, I'm trying to be strong. You worry about the home, I'm worried about the hustle. You want some care, I want some control. Okay. So emotional walls and power struggles, family versus self-assertion, reality checks is definitely what I think whenever I think of Saturn. And you have the Sun involved. It's like a reality check on that ego and some emotional maturity. It's like you're not being mature enough. So you can be frustrated at being emotionally vulnerable and not getting some support back. That Saturn gets really cold really quick, feeling like your efforts are going unnoticed or like you're being asked to hold it all together. A strong urge to retreat while at the same time being pushed to step up and be responsible. So you have that dynamic happening. Now, on the 23rd of June, that Sun then squares Neptune, right? So this is about like, you don't want to forgive. You don't want to release. That Sun also is going to highlight whatever Neptune is trying to hide. Neptune gets a little secretive and it hides a lot of dark things. So this could be highlighting some things that's dealing with leaders that we should be seeing, leaders that are dealing with the government because it's sitting next to that Saturn there. But this is all about not forgiving or releasing something from the past, identity confusion, emotional uncertainty, vulnerability, and being your soul is just tired. Okay. With that Neptune. Let's see what we have here. Identity and illusion, emotional burnout, disillusionment of the collective energy. Leadership is like, are you the leader? Are you shady? Okay. The sensitivity turns inward. People withdraw emotionally to protect themselves from the world because it's moving too fast, or there's escapism, there's drugs. Neptune is going to be all that energy that P. Diddy is doing, the stuff, the details that we're hearing about all that. This is what that's giving. And now there is a highlight of it. And it's like, I don't want to look at the things that are so dark and so secretive and we didn't know about it. And now we know about it. Okay. Just avoid making a big life decision based on feelings or guilt or fear or confusion. Believe in everything you see or hear. Avoid that, especially when it comes to anything dealing with emotional backing. When you're trying to escape and not deal with the things that are real or reality and what the Sun is trying to show you, don't do that. Okay. Now on the 24th of June, the sun in Cancer conjuncts Jupiter. It was already sitting kind of close there. So these things are really big, right? This is a Kazemi. Before it even gets to Jupiter, Jupiter is like, you are blinding me. I am not working. I'm not giving you the good luck, or maybe I'm doing too much. So there could be an overwhelming energy of emotions before it even gets there. So get ready for that once it hit Cancer season. But what do we have here? Jupiter is a heart in a Cancer. Cancer is exalted. Okay, da 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 da. A lot of emotion and compassion, a lot of emotional breakthroughs, a lot of blessings around the home, family, ancestral wisdom. It's going to be a big theme of all the stuff that I'll talk about as far as housing with the government. Get ready for that. Deepen faith through inner stillness. Yeah, are things from the past, ancestry, love, things that are very passive aggressive. We could be having some issues dealing with the weather with water too. Let's see what the moon is doing. Sin Gemini could be dealing with some weather issues too. But keywords for Cancer new moon on the 5th. And the full moon is also dealing with this conjunction here. So we got a lot going on. Get ready when I do that video on the Cancer new moon. But the Cancer new moon is an emotional reset. It's about homecoming because it's in the sign Cancer, inner child healing, ancestral roots, sacred, self-care. Now, anytime you have this new moon, but this new moon is going to be very potent. Because you are dealing with that Jupiter, that Sun and Jupiter conjunction. Mercury is trying that North Node over there. So it's, well, is it trining? It's not trining. Yeah, it is. It's trining that North Node. So you're still dealing with things that you're trying to achieve in this lifetime. And I'm talking about this energy here. And then you have the Saturn and Neptune. And it's like, why are y'all in my business and being negative? It's still looming and being negative. So you have all these energies for this Cancer new moon, which is supposed to be blessing, but it's teamed too much. Okay. So you're redefining your home, your safety, your belongings. Maybe there's some inner child healing. There is something from the past creeping upon you. This is the energy of slowing down and feel. Cancer isn't loud. It's a lunar sign. So it's very quiet and it's very sacred kind of energy, but it's very emotional. Okay. A lot of moodiness, things dealing with moody energy. Energetic conditions is that the moon is in a home sign. So it's extra powerful. There's deep clarity. You're talking about the womb. You're talking about pregnancies. You're talking about fertility. You're talking about the memory. You're talking about the mom. You're talking about a safe place. You're talking about nourishing yourself emotionally. All that. Again, major water issues, oceans, rivers, baths, all that will help you with this new moon in Cancer. Okay. Let me see what else. Oh, and it's also in 4 degrees, this new moon. That's a Cancer degree. So it's something very emotional and dealing with the home that's going to happen here. And with that conjunction with Jupiter, it's going to make it huge. A lot of manifesting, a lot of faith energy too. Jupiter is also quincunx Pluto, and it's not comfortable. Jupiter is like, well, there's some discomfort with team doing too much. Maybe you're doing too much therapy. Maybe you're going too deep and too dark, and it's like, let it go. So that kind of energy is happening. Also, too, remember this new moon is going to square these two this doom planet here. But still makes me think of the government. But challenges may arise when it comes to any kind of boundaries, emotional avoidance, or unrealistic ideas. Okay. One little positive thing is that it will be sextiling Mars and Virgo. So you actually putting in work and you actually having some tangible steps to doing something for your emotional wellness will be helping you during this new moon. So adding care and with some action is going to really work. Now on June 26th, then Mercury stops being emotional and it starts to be all about the drama. It's like, everyone look at me. It's being bold. It's being expressive. It's being creative. It's speaking from the heart. A lot of dramatic thinking and confident ideas because Mercury has now entered in the sign Leo. So it wants to speak it like it mean it. It speaks up. It tells its story. It owns its own perspective. A lot of personal brandings, a lot of creative ideas that's going to take center stage. Mental confidence, the ego clashes, darling. Okay. Like, I am not afraid to confront you kind of energy. A lot of ego driven, stubbornness, argument, speaking for validation rather than clarity, performing emotions instead of processing them kind of energy. But you got a lot of leaderships, a lot of courageous energy, and very presidential energy. Now, again, And when it does enter this, then the moon will come here and it will start to be emotional, and then we'll start to oppose Pluto as well. So first, when you have this sitting next to the moon, once it happens, then you are grabbing attention and you're being really creative and all that stuff that I said. But now it's emotional, and it could be dealing with the people, the president and the people. And then when it's opposing this Pluto, then it's like power struggles in communication, the truth that transforms everything. There's media manipulation, censorship, harsh truths. Social media is shut down, and you're like, why is it shut down? It's so dramatic. Leader, influencers, and public figures are emotionally charged. There could be a dramatic headline while you have Mercury and Leo. Freedom of speech and social systems and identity, that has a conflict too. Now, on June 27th, we have Mercury in Leo. Now it's all good because now it's trining. So all the stuff in Cancer didn't get along with Neptune and Saturn, but once it hits Leo, it works all good. It's all good in the hood. So now we have mental discipline, clear direction, bold but grounded speech, creative ideas, and confident structure. This is going to be positive, you guys. Things that we are saying and thinking, and contracts that we're signing, and commerce, and trade, and sharing, and learning is really going to be bold. It's going to be confident. We're thinking of long-term vision, creative strategy, grounded confidence. It's very positive. And then the moon is involved there too, so it's emotionally having our back. Now, Mercury is also going to trine at Neptune, and now it's also about the secrets, and it's a fire meets water, but still fire. Okay, because then Neptune is very feminine, but creative and spiritual breakthroughs happens here. Okay, compassionate, courage, and communication, psychic downloads, and you're manifesting the messages at the same time. Okay, so record or write creative or spiritual messages. Share your heart-led message or story to an audience. This is great divine timing. This is also a reality check, and it's really passionate and bold and brave, and is doing something for the first time. Very positive for people who are scary. This is really going to work, especially if it's something you need to say out of your mouth, or something you've always wanted to learn. Like, I've always wanted to learn how to swim. I don't know how to swim. This would make me swim, because it's like, come on, you got to be serious. You got to start this and get to swimming. Neptune can add the little water to it. Now, on the 29th, this is the last day of that I have for the month of June. Mercury in Leo, though, that's when I told you about it officially opposes Pluto on the 29th. So you're going to have the freedom of speech, the planet of freedom of speech, the planet of all these people rebelling and boycotting and striking. Now it's going to be on stage bigger than ever. So you got power struggles in communication, mental obsessions or intensity, truth versus performance, conflict between being authentic, or confronting the collective and what the collective believes as what they need. Okay, the ego-driven message, and it's not working for what needs to transform or what we need to do to get the rebirth. A lot of manipulation, a lot of cohesive speech, control games with conversations, ego triggered arguments too. So get ready for that. And then Mercury will start to, when it hits 4 degrees, and it will be on the 29th, it will start to pre-shadow retrograde phase. So if you're doing any traveling, I would suggest that you plan to do all the traveling before June 30th. On the 29th, that would be the last day of you planning anything far as traveling. So mark your calendars for that, because the pre-shadow phase, I wouldn't recommend you doing traveling. But if you are, just make sure you plan everything before this pre-shadow phase retrograde, which is going to be June 30th. Okay. But if you didn't know about anything about retrograde, so the first act is that there's a pre-shadow phase. That's the setup. Okay. This is what you say, you sign, and you start to make everything, like the revisions of everything, just revise, don't do. Okay. Then the act 2 is when it actually retrogrades. If you see, it'll start retrograding soon, and then after it retrogrades, then it will be retrograding, going backwards. This is all the retrograde here. And then when it stops retrograding at 4 degrees, which is where it started, then you hit the post shadow phase. And a post shadow phase actually stops when it hits the degree where it started retrograding. Okay. So you have that, but that Mercury at 4 degrees, it is a home degree, it is a Cancer degree, it's a past, it's something dealing with your emotions or your safety. And on top of that, you are dealing with your ego and being authentic, and a lot of miscommunications with conflicts and leadership. Mercury retrograding in Leo is a lot of fights and a lot of things dealing with presidencies, inner child messaging as well. All right. So get ready for that one, Mercury, but that is in June, July. In July, June, we're doing great. Okay. Yes, I hope you guys enjoyed what I have. Let me pull some cards for the collective for June. Mark your calendars for everything that I said. I'm actually too going to start putting on TikToks when's a good time to launch something, or when's a good time based on the moon to do various things, just so you guys can know. Okay, so what do we have for June? We have a lot of things that are going to change and transform a lot of deep energy. The first card we have for June is the Death card. That's the card of transformation, rebirth. Something will be ending and being released, and something very deep, very intense. None of this like, oh, let's just talk about it later and we'll act like the elephant's not in the room. Now the elephant's in the room, we're going to address it. So a lot of that to help us get abundance, because there is abundance when it comes to finances. I'm sure that's Jupiter expanding everything. There's going to be God giving us opportunities for clarity. God's giving us opportunities to say the things that we want to say. And then we have the Four of Cups in reverse. And the Four of Cups is this is a card that wants to be still and contemplate, but we're not being still. We're not being thankful for the things that God has given us. Well, maybe we are. We actually are seeing the things that our God has given us, or maybe there's things internally that we know we should be working on, and that God has given us something within, and we're not paying attention to it. That makes me think of that Cancer energy. Okay. So yes, that is what we have for the collective. Thank you guys for watching. That is the June. I'm going to go over details of everything I discussed in this video, and the next video is going to be a pick a card for June. All right. But I do recommend you check out the pick a card for last month to see how accurate it is, because I'm telling you, it's very accurate. And then, and you want to focus on your past, so you can, especially when it comes to Cancer season, so you can release it in your future. All right. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye bye.